if somebody can do something else, we should do it because everybody's the same down to like a cellular level. We're exactly the same. So to your point, like you said, hey, I knew people were getting jacked. I knew people were getting in shape. I knew I had to do this, right? I knew it's possible. And sometimes you just have to see the possibility there, but you just had to figure out how to effectively do it. And then you went on a journey. They can do it. I can do it. Let me find out how. Entrepreneurship, business owners, success in life, and like being able to have a good fitness routine and like control your body. There's a really direct linear correlation between the two. But yeah, I'm glad that this kind of happened.
You know, so how this, you know, for those that are tuning in now, how this kind of came up is a book that Angela is reading right now, which is about longevity or something. And then we started talking about intermittent fasting. And then and then actually in the book says like HIIT training is super good, which obviously Legion is a HIIT style gym. Right. And you know what's funny is a lot of trainers and stuff will trash on HIIT training, which I love. I love that trainers will trash on it because they're like, oh, it's not good. The most important, the most beneficial exercise routine is the one that you're actually going to do.
That's very true.
HIIT training, when programmed correctly, is great, especially because it will challenge you consistently. But so many trainers will trash this. This is why I know that it's good, is because it gets them super upset. And when you're getting them upset, it means we're on the right path to something. However, that being said, they'll trash it like, oh, it's not this, it's going to lead to that or whatever. There's better ways to do it. It's like, well, if people don't enjoy what they're doing, they're not going to do it.
That's very true.
People enjoy, like that's what we've seen throughout. Yeah, like that's what we've seen with Legion, and you know, you see that with other like, you know, HIIT style boot camp based gyms where the energy is so infectious, it's so good. The workouts are fun and beneficial. Is that this is the first thing they've actually been able to stick to in years. Right. You know, we've had people that are members of the gym for years that did not like working out before. They were on up and down cycles. So the best form of exercise is going to be the one that challenges that you're actually going to do consistently. So if that is HIIT training, if that's like a super in a different context, like intense form of strength training or some sort of super intense form of like cardio, then awesome. Like stick with it because you need something to challenge your body. But yeah, you know, that's just kind of, I think, exercise, strength training, transformation, starting that, I think my first workout was like, I was 15 or 16 years old when I started. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just know I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. Yeah. I had gotten dumped by a girlfriend at the time, and I assumed, like probably any young kid, that I was like, if I get jacked, she's going to want me back. I'll show her. That clearly didn't work. You know, obviously there's more to a relationship than that. However, and I didn't get results at all for like a year because I didn't know what I was doing. What I learned after years, I knew I didn't give up because I knew clearly there's people that were jacked. There's people that were getting in shape. And I just knew that it wasn't that this thing didn't work, this vehicle of exercise, of strength training, of whatever I had to eat. That wasn't like, actually at first I didn't even know nutrition was a component. So I just assumed, you know, I just had to find the right style of working out, the right way to work out. But I kept doing it because I knew there was other people that had success. I kind of like carried that over into all of business too. As I speak about this out loud, is there's plenty of things that I don't know in business. However, I see other people have had that success. Like when I first opened, I saw there was people eventually that had multiple locations. So I knew that it was possible and that I could do it as well. I just had to figure out what they were doing that got them there. And then like, as these businesses grew and then other businesses were created that fed into that business, I didn't know how to do it, but I knew there was a way to do it because other people had done it. And I think that comes back to when I first started working out. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew there was other people that have had, you know, that have crazy physiques. So clearly it works. I just need to figure that out. So early on, I think that lesson of learning that there is a way to do it. You may not know it now. You just have to go find it. Ultimately, that was a huge lesson for me. But also the biggest lesson with fitness was if I take those actions on a daily basis, if I do them consistently and I do it over a long enough period of time, I'm going to have results.
Small inputs, large
You know,
outcomes.
Yep, there you go. But yeah.
Plug that shit in. Dude, so I was just typing down a note so I didn't forget it. But like, isn't it interesting, right? That like, if somebody else can do something, it's proof that we can do it, right? Like if anybody out there you can do it and you look like, man, I can do it. It's crazy as it sounds like, okay, there are some things that if you're not 7'4", you're not going to be a center in the NBA. Okay, there are some limitations, but 99.9% of the stuff out there you can do. And like reading that book, right? So like going back to this book, right? Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. They kind of found a lot of interesting things because like down to like a molecular level or cellular level, we are the same as yeast, right? Like it's so insane. Like we are made up of the same things that yeast is made up of, right? So that's how they studied a lot. They found a lot of things in this book about longevity through like studying yeast and like editing yeast DNA, and then like it actually works in humans and mice, and they kind of like progress it forward. So like it's like if somebody can do something else, we should do it because everybody's the same down to like a cellular level. We're exactly the same. So to your point, like you said, hey, I knew people were getting jacked. I knew people were getting in shape. I knew I had to do this, right? I knew it's possible. And sometimes you just have to see the possibility there, but you just had to figure out how to effectively do it. And then you went on a journey. They can do it. I can do it. Let me find out how. And then you go into the journey and kind of like reverse engineer and figure out what they're doing. It's like a basketball player. They're not making any baskets. So all they need to do is see the ball go through the hoop. I'm good. I can make that shot. And now they're good. Now their brain's trained on it. So it's like, as an entrepreneur or somebody that's looking for success, it's like, if you see it's done out there, you can do it too. Just go and reverse engineer it. And there's no difference from somebody to you and the abilities that you guys have. So if they can do it, you can do it. The only person that's going to hold you back is you.
And that's a huge point. And I don't know if I actually ever had like a issue with even internal self-talk, but I know over the years, I probably even caught myself, not probably, I have caught myself where I'm like, oh, well, this person has done X because of this. Or it's like, this person's freaking super jacked. They got such crazy results because their genetics are great. Whereas I had to quickly like reframe the way I even thought about that statement. Like, who cares? Who cares if this person had great genetics and your genetics maybe aren't as good?
You never have negative self-talk. I'm going to cut you off there. That's bullshit. Every time I talk to you, why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? Why isn't that possible? Why? I think I'm going to challenge you and say that's a limiting belief. That's literally the talk that you and I have. If I say something, I'm like, oh, yeah, that. You challenge me.
Well, it's because I've had to fight through it. Yeah. Well, I've had to fight through it because, I mean, just like anybody else, I do have periods. I think everybody has periods like that. There was a very long stretch where I felt I was untouchable. I was like, everything that I touch turns to gold. And, I did go through a period where probably like a year and a half, I was like, I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know if I got this anymore. I don't know. Maybe my luck has run out. So there was actually a lot of self-talk that I had to work through that. That being said, it's kind of like going back to when I first opened my gym. And I don't know if you experienced this when you opened your gym, but when I was first opening Legion, I understood that there was a possibility that I could fail. And I was like, okay, I'm going to recognize it. I can fail. Worst case scenario, at the time I was 20, I think it was 24 to 25. I was 25 when I first opened, but I was 24 going through the process. I was like, worst case scenario, I'm an amazing trainer. I'll go get a job at a gym and be a trainer and make what I'm, was making and whatever. I didn't realize what was out there. I was like, that was the worst case scenario. And then that was the only time I really thought about it. So I visited the salient negative reality. Then I just said, okay, cool. I'm ignoring that. Life, like, especially for me, living in America, it's not going to be that bad. And then I just went about my day. And I think that does happen to me where I may experience a little bit of self-doubt or negative self-talk, but it's recognizing it, then flipping it, really, instead of even just being like, hey, this person has done this because of why, it's like, no, that's not true.
This person
How can I flip it so that it really makes sense? Yeah, where it's like, hey, this person did this, which means so can I. Maybe they have a better skill set in one area. Cool, I can develop that skill set. Or maybe they did have, I don't really so many people will look at those that are very successful, or like even like Elon Musk. You see a lot of people that trash Elon Musk right now, and they do it because they're like, oh, well, he did this X, Y, or Z. It's like the dude is putting in the work at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. with his team right now. Most people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
He had an original business that he sold
right now,
for
isn't he?
mega
Isn't he
bucks.
there like with a bunk
Yeah,
bed suite or a
that's
sleeping bag
what I
sleeping in
heard.
there?
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, like he's there all the time. How many people are willing to do that? And it's like those are the things. Whether you may not have had a successful exit in a prior business, but and I haven't read it yet, but apparently there's an Elon book's really good. Like he went all in
I did
after
read it.
his huge exit from PayPal. You did, yeah. I think maybe you and I were talking about
Very
it.
good.
Yeah, so he went all in. So like how willing are you to lose everything?
Yep.
But that was, I think so with negative self-talk, I believe like anybody, just like it probably exists in you. Just to me, one of the things that I've gotten good at, that I've trained myself, is to quickly get over it. And it was interesting. I think because I started, it's one of those things. But when like if you think about it, sure, like when you first probably got into the game, you're just like, man, you didn't understand the gravity, the magnitude of what was capable. So in the beginning, it was super fun. It was just like, cool, I'm learning this skill and I'm putting it in action. I'm learning this skill, I'm putting it in action. I'm learning this skill. So I didn't have like, what's the word I'm looking for? And I think it is maybe a little even tougher nowadays in social media. Like it wasn't the same way when we first started, whereas you're seeing all these people that are showing this level of success. And you're like, what the heck? Like, I didn't know any of that. Like somebody that was extremely financially successful was like a unicorn. Like you didn't know. They didn't go and flaunt it. Now it's like super flaunted. So it probably is a little bit tougher where you don't realize that it's like those small levels of gains. Like I had to do my first 100K year before I could do $1 million year. So it was like I had to do that, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I was just loving the process of developing those skills, applying it, learning, applying it, and then especially when I was like growing Legion, I didn't really even check the numbers. It was just like next location, level up, next location, level up, maximize this performance this month. And then when I did start getting obsessed with the numbers, it actually kind of worked a little bit negatively for me because I was obsessing about the numbers in the wrong way. Yeah, I don't know where that long-winded shit was from.
It's crazy. It's like, no, I agree with everything you said. And it's crazy. It's like, I think like when we did FitPro, it kind of opened up my mind to like, you have to like go back to like, you have to see it's possible. Like I didn't know it was possible. And then like when we kind of did that business, like you opened my eyes to like, there's this white label platform called High Level. I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I had no clue anything you're talking about. I played dumb and I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. And then I was like, wow. And then like, it opens your mind like, oh my God, people are doing this. Oh my God, this person making money. Oh, we made money. Oh, wow, this is actually working. People pay for this service. This is actually a legitimate business. And like open my mind to like, okay, cool. Then I just had to find out like how to make it work, right? But it's like, dude, you got to be exposed to that shit. Like you gotta, I don't know why I keep belaboring the fact that I don't know why I'm just talking to everybody else because it was like so eye-opening to me. But like just seeing it happen was like, oh my God, what's possible?
Well, that was the biggest thing for me when I joined that coaching group with Sam back in like 2014. Like I did it out of a place of necessity. I was down to my last like 10K. I had 10K in expenses coming up. I was like, I need to do something. I need to do it fast because I'm gonna run out of how to get money or any of that stuff.
Yep.
So I was like, screw it. I guess I was like, I needed to do this. But when I joined that group, then it opened my eyes to the possibilities. Because Sam had something like 8 or 14 locations at the time. And I was like, whoa. And he had all of these members. He was selling so much in 1 month. And I was like, what the heck? But then I also saw other people in the group that were having such success. And I was like, all right, cool. If they can do it, I can do it. I can do it better. I can do it faster. And then like that was kind of like I just had to learn and develop, but it 100% opened my eyes, which then I already had like maybe some of the seeds of what could happen with direct response and stuff of that nature. But once it like opens it up in a great way.
It's actually possible, or meet real people, or don't hear like some fictitious story. There's almost like a story that's parallel with this. It's like or like back to a life lesson. It's like who you surround yourself with, right? Like if you're part of good masterminds, you're around people like. I used to surround myself like where I grew up. Like I didn't want for food or anything. I wasn't poor, but I wasn't wealthy. I was, working class family. We made enough to get by, but I don't think anybody. And sometimes I think about this from time to time. Now it's like it's so obvious to me how people can make money and how this is possible and how this is like a legitimate thing and like, oh my God, anybody can do this. And I think back sometimes like, hey, do the people I grew up with, and I think of specific people, and I'm like, does this person still have that same mindset that we had when we were younger? Like, this isn't possible. Like, I thought making $40,000-$50,000 a year was great, and that was like impossible to do. But like when I started surrounding myself, and I think one big pivotal point in my life was working for Ben's. Like I was forced by accident and exposed to people that literally made more money in a minute than I made in a year. And their time was so valuable. They were in there, things had to be done quick. They were top performers. And I was like enamored by some of the people I was sitting next to. I was like, wow. And I would ask them questions, and I'd pick their brains when I saw them in service. I'd come over and I'd get their numbers and I'd talk to them. I'm like, oh my God, this person makes this. Oh my God, there's a person that goes to Westchester Benz that has a private jet. He's a billionaire. He invented memory foam for beds.
Oh, sweet.
But he lives very frugal. He's an immigrant from another country, comes over here, lives very frugal. He has a jet probably to get places, but I'm not going to say his name, but he is so wealthy. The guy was like a normal person. I'm like, oh my God, this is a real person. This is not like a guy from a movie. This is like a real person that I'm literally speaking with and I'm talking to. He's a nice person. And he's worth $1 billion, has his own private jet. And it's like, oh my God. So like, I think that opened me up. So like the lesson is like, you got to surround yourself with people who are like on your level or above or where you want to go to. Because like, if you're just surrounded by certain things, you'll think that's your limit. But when you see things are possible, then you're like, wow, they did that. I can start a business and make that kind of money. Then you'd be like, how do I start a business? And you look at the things they actually do and learn how to do it, reverse engineer it. But it's like, just surrounding yourself and putting yourself in a room with people that are successful and seeing that it's possible and they're real people and you can touch them like, oh, they have skin like I do. They bleed like I do. They're breathing oxygen. Wow, I do all the same things. I can do this shit. That was eye-opening for me.
That is so huge, being exposed to that. And that's what I know for me, one of the things that I try and do is like when I see younger, kind of like people that have like younger kids that have like more of an entrepreneurial spirit, I'm like, hey, like freaking go all in on that. Here's what's capable. You don't even know what's truly possible yet. Here's some mistakes that I've made that hopefully you can avoid. And it's really exciting because I did have that, when I was first getting into business, I had a couple people that were super beneficial in my success. Like I had a mentor that owned a bunch of dry cleaners that if he didn't tell me not to spend more than 10% of my anticipated gross revenue on rent, I probably wouldn't have been open for more than a month or two. Right. Because like every other person that goes to open a gym, I looked at the fanciest space. I spend so much money, not realizing I didn't know how to get customers.
Not really.
So
that's
like not, just between that and then
that's not a money-making activity.
Yeah.
You just need a place.
Yeah. I had some people that were just like, I remember like the one dude, Micah, he was like, on a piece of paper, he's like, you just got an MBA. I'm like, cool, thanks, bro. Like, perfect. And it was so helpful. And then I had other people like Peter, Melissa, that literally let me use their basement to start and then would send people. And then like, they were so generous with their time. So it was very helpful for me. So I think that's something that I really feel I'm fortunate and blessed enough to do, to then be able to help other people.
Right.
But that actually was a distraction from where I was trying to go from, which is like, what you were talking about is the sum of the 5 people you spend your time with. And that is so important. And you hear it a lot. And it is something that I 100% did. When I was getting into business, I moved away. I moved, and I've always done that. I've gone to areas, I just go all in. I don't necessarily know the outcome. I just trust in myself. But, I went to school in a completely other state where I never even visited before I went. It was a great thing. Then when I opened my first gym, it was an hour plus from where I grew up. I didn't know anybody out there. Yeah. And I was just like, screw it. I got this opportunity. I can put up a location here. I'm going to go. And then when I did that, I also I don't know if it was necessarily intentional, but then it became intentional, was I didn't hang out with the people that I used to hang out with that weren't having the same time to drive or weren't trying to go in the same direction. Nothing against them. It was just like, that's what I was focused on. And probably more to do with me is just like you and I have such great conversations to get along so well, is we have a very narrow focus of what we give a shit about.
Right.
And if it's not aligned to that, it's very hard for me to fake an interest. I don't like small talk. Right. I'm not very good at it. I don't want to do it. But I'm all about talking about business, marketing, sales, growth, new opportunities. I like same thing, like you, like earlier you said that I challenge you, you challenge me. Like those are the kind of conversations that I want. And I'd rather have a much smaller group of people that I like talk to, that spend my time with. I did do that early on, and I do think it was a very beneficial thing for me, where my circle were the business owners that were in the groups that I was in, and that was it. So I was only surrounded by people, and I only really talked to people that were really looking to push and grow their business. And just like going back into fitness, when I realized, hey, here's these changes that I need to make in order to make, I was 115 pounds when I first started working out. I wanted to be jacked, which in my mind was 250, like 220.
Yeah.
I was like, if I need to get there, I need to work out, I need to eat, and I need to sleep. So I did that for like 3 years straight. I never missed a meal. I didn't drink. I would not try and go out late at all. Like I would stay in because I was so focused on achieving this outcome. Same thing happened in business. Once I opened, I fell in love with it.
Yep.
I was like, this is really cool. Let me learn more about business. And then when my eyes were opened up to the capabilities and the possibilities, I was like, let me do this. I want to achieve this. There was a chip on my shoulder, 100%. Yep. And I was like, hey, I'm going all in, which also meant I'm not going to do things that aren't going to get me closer to my goal.
Right.
So, and that was super beneficial for me.
You fall in love with the process, right? I'm going to share two things. Back to the Benz thing. It's really cool now bumping into my customers that were like making like good money. They're like surgeons and stuff. And I've surpassed them by like a long shot.
When you're buying, cool. You're like, that's my G-Wagon. I'm not selling that one, motherfucker.
Right. And I'm buying a car. I literally just got another BMW, and I went to the dealership, and I ran into one of the guys, and he's like, his dad was like a surgeon, very successful surgeon. He used to buy cars.
Yeah.
And he's like asking how I'm doing. His dad's like, dude, so proud of you. And it was like really cool to come back. Like I used to sell you cars, and now like look what I've done. And you know, it's something like I like to coach the kid because I really like him and stuff. So his dad was like, yeah, why don't you work with him? So I'm going to be doing some stuff with him. But it's really cool to know that.
That's
like,
awesome.
I was talking to like one of my clients who owns a home healthcare business, still very successful, super cool dude, like around the same age. We really jived well at the dealership together. And I bumped into him at one of the stores or whatever we're going to. And he asked how I was doing. He's like, dude, this is amazing, man. He's like, he's buying businesses now. He's got like cleaning businesses, home healthcare businesses. They place like nurses.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So he's doing well, right? I don't know if he's doing the revenue that I'm doing right now, but like I have a completely different mindset on business. So he's like, hey, dude, like, why don't we have a quick chat? I want to pick your brain about some stuff. He's never done social media marketing. And I spit off, I think we had like a 10-minute conversation. I spit off a bunch of ideas from him. He's like, dude, this is insane. He's like, this is so effing good. He's like, how do you come up with this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just obvious to me. He's got a completely different mind where things are obvious to him, and I can benefit on like his mind and the things he does. But like when it came to marketing and like offers and stuff like that, he's like, dude, this is insane. But to me, it was like so obvious, right? So that's like a portion where like he was in proximity to me. I was in proximity to him to see business was great. 5 years later, he's in proximity to me to be like, oh my God, this can completely revolutionize my business with some of the tips and advice you're giving me, right? He's like, dude, you should charge people for this. He's like, why are you doing this for free? So like, you know, I'd say it's.
I've also told you should go into consulting. So
it's what I love to do.
You know, it's super fun. I'm the same way. Like when you're talking certain aspects of business, it is so easy. And it's fun, but it's also the way, like, especially you and I, it's like our mind works within the marketing and the sales thing. I was like, it's easiest for us, just like it actually sometimes easy for other people to go into our business and be like, hey, here's this, this, and this. It's like they're seeing it from a different lens. Yeah. But that is something that's really cool and people are sleeping on. Like we're kind of in like sexy industries. We're in fitness. We're in, online coaching, consulting, and advertising and stuff. So those are like sexy, like people want to start that. What that dude's in is, but people don't want to do. And there's so much opportunity.
So much opportunity.
Like those businesses, if you could buy them up, if you could put in like the strategies that we use at our businesses into like those industries that haven't had it, you're going to blow up and surpass it. And he might not be making. Yeah.
He could believe it. He's like, oh my God. But that just led me to believe it's like, wow, we can take our skill set and apply it to another industry. And it's like, we can blow that industry up for pennies.
Yeah. Well, there's I think you and I were talking about that marketer, Derek Halpern. He's
Yeah.
like one of the best marketers. He was a
Yep.
huge info marketer and all that, extremely smart. And then years ago, he's just like, I'm teaching all this marketing stuff and doing all these info products. What if I just applied it? And then he created Truvani, and like Truvani blew up. He partnered with what is it, Food Babe or something.
Yeah.
And then he just took those and he applied it to that business. And there's also, and that's something that I'm still learning about. The business I started, since I didn't really have business experience, it was more, eventually got to, I just like cash flow. Here's this high cash flow, service-based businesses.
Yep.
And then when I joined EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, I started learning about these other, HVAC
there,
companies.
You were like a VP there. You were like on the board or whatever it was.
I was on like the membership board. Yeah. I was a recruitment chair. I was not very good because that was me. I loved the organization and I was trying to do too many things because I was still like rapidly growing Legion, and then I didn't have the time to commit to it. So that was my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, EO Philly, for not being a great chair. But like when I got into that, I learned, you hear all these, and this is like also interesting stuff. Like I remember there was guys in there, you hear they have these $15-20 million businesses. And this is where it started shifting from thinking just revenue versus profit. Because my business, even though it would be a fraction, had way more profit than those businesses.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, you start learning, it's like, hey, these people are actually, some of these businesses are just like people get into business more for the cash flow is nice, but it's more for this asset that they're going to sell.
Yeah.
And, because you were talking about, you're like, hey, cash flow wise, my businesses is doing better. And you obviously have a great multiple, if you were to exit. Whereas for him, it might be, hey, cash flow's okay. Just like in an e-com business, like this is something that was said at one point when I was when I was doing a little e-com. But like, it's not about what you make during it. It's what you're going to make when you sell it. And so somebody's like, you don't do e-com to make money. You do it to make money when you sell. Which I still don't 100% agree with at all. But yeah. It's like, I don't know. Those are just interesting things when you think about the other reasons that, some people get into business or what they're planning on doing with their business.
Thinking about selling business is like, I've created a life I love. You know what my employees did? We were doing annual Thanksgiving. Now, Case Connect annual Thanksgiving, Call of Duty. We all get online and play Call of Duty together. We got online and played it. Like we're gonna dude, I'm so bad. I'm so bad at it. John was on there, Christian was on there. Dude, it was a blast, man. We were up for like an hour and a half. I was up to like 11 o'clock, latest I've ever been up in my entire life. And we were playing Call of Duty together. And dude, it was so much fun, man. And we all like jobbed. I love the business we created. I love the lifestyle. Like, of course, it supports our financial needs. But it's like, man, like, I don't know. If you love what you do, it's really tough to sell. Like, I would miss it. Like, if somebody could come by and give me $30 million for it, and like, I get it, but it's like, I would truly miss this. Like, the money would never fill the void of what I get personally from this, because I enjoy business. And kind of going back to another point I wrote down a little bit ago. My uncle was over for Thanksgiving. They visited and they came to see the kids. And like after that, they're like inviting us out for drinks with all the family. And I'm like, I'm just not interested. I don't enjoy this. He's like, well, you got to get out and have fun with family. I'm like, that to me is not fun. He's like, well, what's fun to you? I was like, honestly, like make fun of me. I like reading books and studying and like working. He's like, yeah, it's weird. And like, it's not, it's like, I like it. And like, you got to really fall in love with what you're doing and fall in love with business. And you and I both have like a sick obsession with what we're doing. And to kind of go back to like, when they were over in the house, and I was just waiting till we got on like a topic of business or like a book I read. And it was crazy. It was like, all of a sudden, like you could see my eyes light up and I started talking about this. And they're like, so what is this business you do? And I'm like, this is our employees do this and this, and we're able to do this. And how you do this? Oh, it's like that. And when they were asking me questions, I was like, yes, this is a good subject. And I was like, dude, you can do the boom, 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 boom. I told Lena to do this, and we could do it. And I just wouldn't shut up. I perked up. I was like a different person just because you have to be passionate. You got to love this shit because like,
and they're like, shut the fuck up. We don't care.
They don't even care. Like most people don't even care. But it's like, that's why some people are obsessed. Like Elon Musk is supposedly sleeping on the floor back in Twitter, got rid of all the employees. They're running it like it's a frat house, right? But dude, he probably loves that shit. Loves it. It's
but even Elon says like for most people wouldn't want to be him. They wouldn't want to have his life. Like his brain never shuts off.
Right.
And that's okay. I'm the same. I'm like, should I just you go through like, I think we talked about the other week, you go through ebbs and flows where you're just like in a season of ideas and working, and your stuff you're putting out is just so good. There is a lot of selfishness to entrepreneurship, because it is like, it's feeding what we want to do, what really fulfills us. And, I like to think of it as, well, at the end of the day, it's one, allowing the people that are in my life to live a lifestyle that is, hopefully beyond what most people can imagine, but then also setting themselves up for generations. And like, that's the end goal. But if there is a lot of selfishness, it's like, this is what I like doing. This is what I care about. And I have had to teach myself over the years, especially for people that I care about, is to be less selfish, and to like, because there was a point in time where I just didn't like, I wouldn't even want to pay attention, and I couldn't care about that. But then when I realized, like, hey, if these people are important to me in my life, like, I am going to be interested in the things that they find enjoyment out of or really love, even if it doesn't make any sense to me. And that's okay. Like, so it's okay for people to have other interests. Like, that was something that, like, early, I was like, very much, I'd be like, oh, like, here's this idea, you could do this. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, they don't care. They don't want to do this stuff.
Dude,
like,
it's tough though. It's like, it's funny when you're telling people, they're like, yeah. And then they're like, did you see the Sixers game? And I'm just like, fuck, dude, like, you're just missing.
Yeah. Well, like, then he's like, it's like, yeah.
I have two.
I was the same way. I'm like, I don't
hobbies.
care.
My family, like going out with my kids, my family, and like business. And like, dude, and like self-help and self-improvement. I'm like a junkie for that, reading books and like,
yeah.
But that's like what
I love when people trash. I love that people trash self-help stuff and like self-improvement,
I trash self-improvement,
and it's usually broke ass motherfuckers.
But I trash it when it's stupid. Like the other day when somebody talked about hitting the alarm and you're training your subconscious. Shut the fuck up, dude. If you want to sleep in, sleep in. Just get your shit done when you get up. Like, I trash it when it's stupid.
Yeah, see, I don't 100% agree with that. I would say, I do think that if you hit snooze, you are conditioning yourself that it's okay to be lazy. That, and there are, I agree with, there's some days, like, I don't ever set an alarm unless I have to, an early flight or something like that. I wake up when I wake up, but I really do not hit snooze anymore. One, because it would fuck my day up, like you're groggy and stuff like that. But you are starting your day by letting yourself know that it's okay to be shitty. It's okay. And there's like, not the proper term, but like, for you, you're a high achiever. Like, hey, if I need to hit snooze or whatever, I'm going to work. You're going to work. But it might not be the most productive you could do.
For other people.
But for other people that are just getting started, or they haven't done that stuff, like, there are times where maybe you do need to hit snooze. But if you're somebody that conditionally doesn't do that, like that hits snooze and stuff, I do believe that trains your subconscious.
If my kids are asleep and my shit goes off and I can hit snooze and they're still asleep, I'll fucking hit snooze. And I won't think twice about it. I will stay asleep. I don't care.
Yeah, and again, maybe it's because I don't have two kids, so I haven't experienced what you've experienced yet. So it's easy. But like, I wake up before Lourdes wakes up. I don't have an alarm. But there are some. It's like, I don't have a set time. There's some times where I wake up at 5:30, and there's other times where I wake up at 6:30. There's times where I wake up woken up at 7. So it's like. But then I actually do prefer to wake up earlier, though, because then I'm way more productive. I do love having that period in the morning where there's nobody awake. I can be slow, drink my coffee, do some reading, or start working or whatever, or choose not to. But I do. I think that the morning routines that you're talking about too are like that. I think that I know really irk you, where it's like, you got to meditate and you got to do this and you got to do all that shit. Like, that's fucking stupid. That's bullshit. And usually, if it is coming from somebody that's successful, it's somebody that's been retarded successful so long that it's like, that's not what you did that got you there. Right. But since you're already there, you can do all these things. Where it's like, hey, wake up, do work. Because I used to work. I used to do most of my work at night, actually, like during a period of Legion's growth. I would work until like 3 a.m. Yeah. And then I wouldn't wake up till 9 or 10. But like, and then I would be productive during the day, but not as
there. Doing the work, just getting it done.
Doing the work, yeah.
Doesn't matter if you do it upside down, praying with your sock off. Just do the work.
I do think your environment makes a difference, though. Like, if
agreed,
I'm sure you've experienced this. Like, if I'm, if I'm in, and it's like if I'm in a clean environment versus a messy environment, like it does impact my production. It's like if I do have a routine, I think human beings do well with routines.
Right.
Then it does help me not get thrown off, and then I'll be just as productive or whatever. But like, there's a really good book that I read. I think that like Taylor recommended it, so I read it. It's like The War of Art, and it's just like regardless of the resistance, you just have to do the work.
Yeah.
And if you have something out there, like that's just like it's if you hit snooze, fuck it, do the work.
Peace, homies. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Small inputs, large outcomes. Logging off.